Hello and welcome back, and that is right. Today I want to talk about some new QNAPs, but not just any old new QNAPs. Today I want to talk about some QNAP NASs that frankly are some of the best things that I've seen come out of the company in terms of hardware for an exceptionally long time. Before I go any further though, a few little disclaimers, a little nugget here at the beginning of the video, just to give you some idea of perspective. I'm not a fool. Okay, data storage is not sexy, it's not interesting, and frankly, the whole point of it is a solution that you set it up, it does its job, and you never have to think about it again. But it has to be said, even within that genre, there's going to be things that stand out more than others. And as far as QNAP is concerned, when it has come to their hardware over the last few years, there was a solution right the way back in 2017-18, which really changed the mould, and it was the 72XT series, also the 72N, the 72, the 72X on its own. These solutions were ones that were stupidly future-proof. They were built on 8th generation Intel Core processors. They were bringing 10 GBE and Thunderbolt connectivity, M2 NVMe's. They were bringing all these USB 3.2 Gen 2. They were solutions that in desktop form were not only powerhouses, but powerhouses with a tremendous amount of future-proofing in them. And although they, as mentioned, arrived in 2017-18, even now in 2022, they are still held in wide regard as some of the most powerful and most adaptable QNAPs in their lineup. Now, why am I talking about something from so long ago? Well, because the NASs I want to talk about today, the TVS-h874, the TVS-hx74 and the TVS-h874 are that story all over again. These might be the most future-proof desktop compact powerhouse NASs I've ever talked about on the channel, which is a big statement, dare I say it. But let's talk about these three. Again, there should be a link in the description breaking down all of the specifications with a lot more detail, so I recommend you check that out. But let me just walk you through what's important. Obviously, it's 4-bay, a 6-bay, and an 8-bay. You can tell that from the model IDs. You can also tell from the model IDs the little H there is because these are arriving with an option of either an ext4 file system or ZFS. All those benefits of the RAID Z, the triple parities, faster RAID rebuilds, resync, just faster operations with inline data compression, inline data deduplication, and more. All of those enormous benefits that come with ZFS if you choose to use them. But the base level hardware is what I really want to focus on here. And if it's not already on screen, I hope I've put it on the screen right now. Now, if we move our way up, it's worth highlighting that these three systems in this product family, the 4, the 6 and the 8-bay, actually arrive in a wide variety of configurations. So depending on the one you go for, the hardware I'm about to discuss will chop and change between them. So hopefully, again, either on screen it'll be detailed in as clear a fashion as I can in a small box on screen, or I recommend you go to the description where there is the full breakdown of all of the specs and what goes with what. But if we go to the lowest end of the configuration, arguably the dullest CPU, which still happens to be not a bad little one at all, it's an Intel Pentium Gold. This is just a simple, relatively simple dual-core processor there, 4 threads. It's got UHD 4K graphics there on board, a UHD 710 I believe, and with that you also get between 4 and 8 gig of DDR4 memory that can be upgraded to a staggering 128 gig of sodium DDR4 memory, and that's where things start. And then we see such a sharp incline, it's unreal, because the rest of this series all arrive with Intel Core 12th generation processors. So that's like 2021 going into 2022 generation processors there in i3, i5, i7 and i9 form, starting at quad core and ending at a 16 core processor. It is insane, with processing power there peaking well into the 4 gigahertz and getting close to 5, I might add, as well at max burst there. And these CPUs arrive with staggeringly powerful onboard Intel integrated graphics. They also arrive with an enormous range of PCIe lanes inside to bolt on systems and services. And they also arrive once again with configurations spanning from 8 to 16 to 32 and 64, and with a maximum capacity memory at 128 gig over 2 slots there. But it is the PCI lanes talking about there that I really want to kind of get our teeth into there. For those that aren't aware, when it comes to building any NAS system at the hardware level, they have to balance price, 24/7 utilization, and overall arching power and return there when it comes to building the configurations of these systems. And a lot of the time, the reason when we look at some NASs and go, oh, why didn't they add 2.5G? Why didn't they add 10G? Why didn't they add XYZ? A lot of the time, the reason is PCI lanes, the available number of resources that the CPU can handle in its chipset and configuration. Now, the Intel Core series has always had a tremendously broad scope for hardware that can be bolted on, both the maximum capacity of those and the actual lanes themselves and their generation. And the, let's call it the hx74 series, these three here, support PCIe Gen 4 lanes across its services. Obviously, the more powerful the CPUs, the more equipped the systems become. So not all of the things I'm going to talk about now apply to all of them, but in a broad overarching range narrative, we have the following. They arrive with M2 NVMe slots inside, which, with the exception of the 4-bay system, are Gen 4 times 4. That means the latest generation of PCIe Gen 4 SSDs from Seagate, WD, Samsung, Sabrent, you name it, they run on this, and those lanes can crack out that 7,000 megs that those SSDs can give you. And you've got 2 of those slots inside your system. If that is not enough, then there's also the PCIe upgrade slots. With these systems run with 2 PCIe slots inside, and one of those slots is a Gen 4 times 16 slot. That's a mainline slot there. That is an insane amount of throughput there, which if you go for the expansion cards, which QNAP already have a range of QM2 cards that have got multiple PCIe Gen 4 slots on them, and even dual port 10G and PCIe Gen 4 M2 NVMe combo cards that it can work with, gives you and frankly insane scalability. There's also a second PCIe slot of Gen 4 times 4 as well. So again, another 8,000 megs bandwidth PCIe upgrade slot there as well. Now, in terms of network connectivity, the majority of these systems, I hate seagulls, arrive with 2 times 2.5 GBE network ports there, which is good, and for the good, but we'd like to see some more 10G there. But it's worth highlighting at the very end there, the highest powered 8-bay, which is an 8-bay with that 16-core i9 64 gig of memory and the Gen 4 configuration, also has 2 10 gigabit Ethernet ports that are on board. It really is an absolute monstrously powerful NAS. There's also USB 3.2 Gen 2, a couple of A slots and 1 C slot there, 1 on the front, 2 on the rear. There's HDMI, which I believe down to the Intel Core architecture is an HDMI 1.4B, so again you're talking 4K at 30 frames, 1080p at 60 frames, which is a little underwhelming there. But overall, this is going to be a tremendously future-proof NAS. Now, we've not had any confirmation right now on Thunderbolt connectivity on this. And by that, what I mean is there going to be support of the official Thunderbolt 3 upgrade card? I would be inclined to say yes, but unfortunately, I've had no confirmation on that. We've had no confirmation on expandability, but based on the architecture, it's going to support at least 2 of the 2, 4, 8, 12 or 16 bay expansion modules in JBOD or Hardware RAID, and almost certainly probably supporting more than that, but it's too early to say. In terms of Thunderbolt 4, because people have been wondering about QNAP and that Thunderbolt 4 system, the TS-hx74T4, QNAP are clearly looking at Thunderbolt 4 systems, and it would not surprise me if there is a Thunderbolt 4 card in development that will support these 3 systems, or that a Thunderbolt 4 version of these will arrive by default, because this is just too powerful and far, far, far too attractive to those working in post-production, broadcasting, and just video editing in general, where they're not going to look at a NAS like this, which is above and beyond anything of just going Plex Media Server, although obviously these will play anything. that I can totally imagine a scenario where these three systems are going to be Thunderbolt 4 equipped, or at least optional somewhere down the line. Now, in terms of pricing and availability, I think availability, given how much we know about them now, can't be that far away. And QNAP have always released solutions like this in the autumn-winter period at the end of year. We saw it with the Gold 7.3 series, we saw it with the 72 series, and I reckon we're going to see it with this. So don't think we're going to have to wait too long for these to arrive. But the price point is totally up in the air right now. Notwithstanding the fact that these are already 12th gen Intel Core systems. One of them is a freaking i9, and a PCIe Gen 4 system, making them fantastically unique outside of maybe their own flash servers, which are far more enterprise. These systems are also going to be future-proofed to hell, much like the 7.2 series. So I would not be surprised if these are already going to arrive, even with the 4-bay at 13 to 1500 and going from there. Again, it's just too early to say, and I'm willing to bet that 8-bay on the end with 10G and an i9, you're looking at 3.5 maybe, if you are lucky. If you are lucky, that's what it's going to cost you. But this has been everything we know right now about that X74 series. Again, there's a fully updated article over on NAS Compares, which we will continue to update as time wears on, and I recommend you check that out. If you were on the cusp of buying the 7.2 series, and again, whether that's the XT, the N, or the X, my advice to you would be to stop right now. Because as good as those systems are, and they are still good in 2022, these are just a different ball game entirely. So I recommend you check them out and at least wait for them. Maybe a month or so. Sit on the fence a little bit longer, okay? So other than that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, throw me a like. It helps the channel. If you want to learn more about this system or other NASs coming in development, then do click subscribe and use the free advice section and the link to the NAS we talked about today in the description below. We can help you, me and Eddie, with free advice, free guidance, and maybe even tell you when we learn more about these systems to keep you in the know. So I recommend you check that out. But otherwise, I will see you next time.